I grew up in a two-bedroom apartment where you could hear the neighbors sneeze, and my dad's television through the wall. Mom managed everything by tone. If the blender started at 6:20 a.m., she was happy. If the television was loud by breakfast, Dad was in a mood. My younger sister April was the golden one. Soft voice, big eyes, the kind of person adults protect without asking questions. I learned early that being steady is not the same as being seen. People imagine surgeons as dramatic. It is not. It is alarms at 4:45, coffee that tastes like metal, scrubs that never quite lose the smell of disinfectant. You get good at small, exact things. Cut here, do not cut there, wash your hands, clamp the bleeder, chart the note. Most of my life is muscle memory and quiet decisions. Money. I do not talk about money. I worked for scholarships, slept in call rooms with a jacket for a pillow, paid back loans, and I still keep numbers private. Not because I am ashamed, because in my house, numbers turn into obligations. If you say you have enough, someone needs it. If you say you do not, you are ungrateful. So, I said nothing. Even when the private clinic added me to their rotation and my best month stacked close to $30,000 with call-in cases, I told Mason I fix bellies and my job is to come home in one piece. That is it. Mason is a literal kid with a loud laugh and zero poker face. He is a good kid who blurts. My mother loves that about him. She will crouch to his height and coo. Tell me everything, sweetheart. Your dad eats. Your dad sleeps. Your dad keeps secrets. Mason shifts and changes the subject. Usually Saturday night was my parents' 40th anniversary dinner. White tablecloths, candles, the kind of place where they wipe crumbs between courses and you feel like you were wearing your shoes wrong. We got there at 7:08 p.m. Dad had already started a second glass of wine. Mom had a shiny dress and her movie smile. April took pictures with flash like we were leaving for college. Family together, April sang. Family first, Dad said, clinking his glass to mine without looking at me. Dinner was the usual script with new props. Harold, cut your hair like the anchor on Channel 9. Harold, you should delegate. Harold, do not marry your job. I chewed and nodded. Mason studied the menu like it was a treasure map. The check came in a small, black folder with the bill folded like a secret. I put my card on top. The waiter left. That is when Mom leaned toward Mason with the soft smile that always looks generous until you listen to the words. Is your dad still underpaid at the hospital? She whispered. Mason blinked. He looked at me. I do not, Grandma. I do not know money stuff. How much does he make? Mom pushed, eyes on me, voice sweet, ballpark. Grandma won't tell. Mason flushed. I saw an email once. 30-something. 30,000 for a month, I think. April gasped like a sitcom. Dad set his glass down a little too hard. 30, he repeated, tasting it. Interesting. Heat rose in my throat. Mason, I said gently, you do not have to. It is family, Mom crooned, tapping the bill. Family, Harold. She slid her fingers under the leather folder, lifted my card and gave me a tiny wink. I'm just running this for one small bill, she whispered. A silly thing. Help for April. Family first. Dad chuckled. The surgeon can handle it. Mason looked guilty. I looked at my hands and did the thing I always do. I breathed, counted, and let the scene roll over me. No speech, no fight. Not yet. We sang for dessert. We took more photos. I kissed my parents goodnight in the parking lot. The first bank alert hit my phone at 12:11 a.m. Approved. I did not know it then, but that little whisper over a white tablecloth was the crack where everything slid out. Cash, respect, and whatever version of loyalty we had been pretending was love. I went home, put Mason to bed, and watched the messages roll in like a slow bleed. I did not answer. Dad's toast echoed in my head like a joke I was too old for. Family first. I did not respond. Not then. This did not start at an anniversary dinner. It started years before with a list of invisible expectations nobody wrote down because they did not have to. I am the one who knows how to do things. Change a tire, book travel, fill out school forms, talk to insurance. Harold will handle it. In training, I picked up extra shifts to keep my lights on and my stomach full. At home, I covered small stuff that grew teeth. Mom's gas bill just this month. Dad's phone. The plan is weird. April's car insurance. I will pay you back Friday, promise. Fridays came and went. The promises rolled like marbles into dark corners and stayed there. It is hard to explain this to people who did not grow up like us. If you are quiet and competent, your family builds a staircase on your back and calls it love. I carried them for years because that is what good sons do. Also because I was terrified of being called selfish. April never got that word. April got special, sensitive, just needs a little help. We used to joke that April could turn a parking ticket into an essay. Messed up system, she would say, and someone would pay it. Usually me. She cried pretty and said sorry like a poem. Then it happened again. Back then, I did not have $30,000 months to hide. I had $2,300 in checking and a loan payment that made me nauseous. When the private clinic brought me in and I finally saw runway, I told myself, stay small, stay quiet, stack your own oxygen, savings for a down payment, a fund for Mason at 18. Fix the old Corolla and keep it until it dies. No photos, no flex, no telling mom. But in my family, silence is a provocation. If you do not say it, they ask. If you refuse, they guess. If you deflect, they resent. One night at 9:37 p.m., Mom called. Your sister has an opportunity, she said. A certificate program. It will change everything. How much? I said, automatic. Only a little, she sang. 1,500 now. 1,500 next month. Nothing for a surgeon. I cannot, I said. Dead air. Then the voice that freezes, rooms. Excuse me. I am putting money aside for Mason and a place closer to the hospital, I said. I am not a bank. You sound cold, she hissed. We raised you better. Family first. She hung up. 4 minutes later, April texted, you are cruel. Mom will not sleep now. Blue hearts, a crying emoji. That was the first time April called me cruel. The second time was when I would not co-sign a lease for a loft with exposed brick and a rent larger than her income. The next morning, Dad waited outside the hospital, arms folded like a bouncer. You are not leaving your sister on the street, he said, keeping his voice low. I am not her guarantor, I said. I am a surgeon. I cut people open and try to send them home alive. That is my job, he squinted. You used to be humble. I am the same, I said. The expectations changed. The family gave you everything, he spat. Images flashed. Me busting tables in college. Me studying in a hallway because the library was full. Me taking out loans. Selling my guitar to clear a balance that was not mine. I said nothing. Silence is my oldest language. April perfected the art of just a nudge. Just today, Harold, you will get it back. Swear. Send your routing number. I am short by nothing. Nothing turned out to be $280, then $340, then $560. None of those numbers breaks a man. Together, they teach him people will stand on his shoulders as long as he does not shake. With Mason, it is different. Spending on him is not a question. Shoes for his weird feet, books that smell like new paper, therapy when he started to stutter because my schedule made him chew his nails until they bled. Being his dad is the one bill I pay smiling. But I also learned to guard his innocence from my family's curiosity. Mom treats kids like tiny microphones. What does Daddy do? Does Daddy keep money in envelopes? Does Daddy have a secret account? She says it like a game. It is not. When the clinic contract kicked in, I promised myself I would be boring. I wanted a key to a place where I could sleep between cases if I had to. I wanted a savings account with a name on it. Mason, 18. I wanted to stop looking at gas prices like a math problem. I did not want to post anything. I did not want to explain anything. Then Mason told my mother a number he saw on my phone because he is 12 and literal and honest. He thought he was telling her my favorite color. That number spread through the family like a siren. It turned nightlights into spotlights. It justified every ask they had been saving. You are fine, the subtext shouted. You can carry this. You are supposed to. At the anniversary dinner, when Mom took my card for one small bill, I remembered a different table. Christmas when I was 15. I saved for weeks to buy April a design book because she had drawn dresses on every piece of mail in our house. Mom opened it, smiled, said, "How thoughtful, honey." April put it down and muttered, "Only that." She did not mean to cut me in half. She did anyway. I swallowed and promised myself I would not cry around the people who say they love me. So when the first bank alert hit at 12:11 a.m., approved, I did the thing I do in the operating room. I counted. 12:44 a.m. approved. 10:06 a.m. approved. 1:44 a.m. approved. 2:17 a.m. approved. It was not a robbery. It was a drip. The charges were help for April, transfer to April, utility, rent. The names were familiar, but the hand signing was mine. At 3:32 a.m., I looked at Mason asleep, mouth open, hair smashed, belt still across his hoodie because he had passed out in the ride home. He looked small, too small to sit between adults and their numbers. I whispered, "I am sorry for tonight," to a kid who could not hear me. I was not sorry for the money. I was sorry I had let him be cornered into talking. By 4:20 a.m., the group text started. "Mom, Do not be dramatic. It is a small payment. We will discuss tomorrow. Family. April, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will explain everything Monday. Love you. Dad, grow up. Family is not Excel. By 5:56 a.m., the projected balance showed a hole, not zero. A crater, 38,000. If the pending charges cleared, it felt like standing over a patient opening wider than the first incision. Not a mistake, a choice. I brushed my teeth under the bathroom light. That makes everyone look sick. My hands were steady. I am good under pressure. It is the one thing I trust about myself. At 7:02 a.m., I decided I would do one quiet thing. No speech, no war. One action, clean, final, not yet, I told myself. First go hear them say the word family like it cuts checks. Then do the thing. Sunday at noon, I went to my parents' apartment. I told Mason to hang with his friend. No homework, no guilt. I did not want him in the splash zone. Mom had papers spread out like she had been up since dawn making a plan. Highlighters, printed emails, her tight smile. Sit, she said like she was the doctor now. Dad crossed his arms and leaned back. April stood near the window with a face puffy from no sleep or too much crying. Hard to tell. It was a mistake, April said first. I needed to cover a tiny debt and then there were fees. Not fees, I said. Payments in your name, transfers to your account, advances on my card. Mom lifted a hand in the universal everyone calm down sign. Harold, nobody is attacking you. We can reorganize. Look, she pushed a spreadsheet toward me. If you reduce your discretionary spending, what discretionary spending? I asked. She smiled like I was cute. Gym, fancy coffee, apps, you know. I laughed once with no humor. I operate 60 hours a week. My leisure is sleeping 3 hours. Dad tapped the table twice. Enough drama. What is done is done. You will do the right thing. Cover the hole and move on. The hole is $38,000, I said. I made the number land. That is not a hole. That is a pit. Family first, Dad said as if he had invented the phrase. Family is you, your mother, your sister, your boy. My boy is not part of this, I said. Do not use him to gather intel. Do not sit him down for money talk. He is a child. Silence. April swallowed. I am sorry, April whispered. You thought I would not say anything? I finished like always. Mom straightened. We are not going to let you play the victim. How many times have we supported you, when I asked not to be cruel, just to hear it out loud? When you were in school and we kept leftovers for you. When we bought you that doctor coat. When we washed your son. You washed him 2 afternoons, I said. The coat I paid in 3 installments. Dad clicked his tongue. Ungrateful. April, voice paper thin, went for the fear. I could get evicted. I do not know what to do. I looked at her in a decade, peeled off. I saw a 7-year-old April with a splinter in her foot, letting me dig with tweezers and a flashlight. She had whispered, I trust you, like a secret. For a second, I wanted to fold. Mom saw it and slid in. Harold, you cover this and we make a plan. We are a team. I breathed. I looked at my hands, the same hands that cut, tie, suture, and sometimes shake after certain words, and I said it the way I deliver bad news to families who deserve clarity. No. The air in the room changed like a pressure door sealed. What do you mean, no? Dad asked. I am not covering any more debt that is not mine, I said. I am not letting you use my cards, and I am not accepting that Mason gets interrogated to find out how much I make. Mom laughed her sharp little laugh. You are exaggerating. It was a family loan. It was not a loan, I said. It was abuse. Watch your mouth, Dad snapped. Not in this house. In this house, I said. Limits have been treated like suggestions. April sobbed. If you do not help, I will be on the street. I did not look away from my parents when I answered. You can stay with me for 2 weeks. I will help you build a budget that touches reality. We will call your landlord together. I will take you to job interviews. I will not drop you as a person, but my accounts are closed. Dad leaned back with a smirk. You call that help? Some surgeon. All brains, no heart. I am a father, I said. First, I am a father. Mom pinched her lips. You need to check your heart. You are bitter. I held her stare and finally said the sentence I had been tasting since midnight. This is not about revenge. This is about closure. I did not raise my voice. I did not throw anything. I let the words sit. Dad stood and did the thing he used to do when I was 10. Turned his back like the conversation was over if he decided it was. You think you are the man now? In this family, the last word is mine. Family first. Great, I said, standing. Let us start there. From now on, my family is Mason and me. Mom followed me to the door with her spreadsheet clutched in her fist. Do not do something you will regret. You will cool off by morning. I will not, I said. Your sister needs you. My sister needs boundaries. Harold. Please, April cried. The nickname hit old nerves. I paused. I love you, April. That is why the answer is no. I closed the door. No slam. Just the clean click of a latch when it finally sets. At 7:20 p.m. back home, I did the quiet thing. I opened the banking app and locked every card. Not heroic. Swipe, confirm, done. I called the fraud line and reported unauthorized use. I requested an audit and flagged every transaction with April's name on it. Then I did the part that mattered most. I separated the streams. Wages to a new bank, savings to a credit union I cannot access on my phone. Mason's fund to a separate institution altogether. Auto transfers off. Alerts on. One thing, clean and boring. At 8:03 p.m. the phone started. Mom, do not be extreme. I reversed a bit. Dad, you are a disgrace. April, I am coming over. I am sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry. I put my phone face down. I made scrambled eggs and toast for dinner with Mason. We talked about his science homework, the heart beats with electricity, Dad, not magic, and argued about whether ketchup belongs on eggs. We watched a dumb movie. At 10:41, I muted the family group. Monday, 7:02 a.m. The minute I promised to myself, I sent one text. The whole policy in lowercase, no swears, no theater. Starting today, 1, I do not lend or share cards. 2, I do not co-sign or guarantee. 3, I do not pay other people's debts. 4, do not ask Mason about my money. 5, if you need help, I define it and I set the terms. If charges continue, I file a formal report. Harold, I send it to Mom, to Dad, to April. Free blue checks. 9 minutes of nothing. Then the flood. 7:11. First call, 7:12, second. 7:13, third. By 8:26 a.m. there were 17 missed calls. By 9:50, 31. By noon, 53. My pocket buzzed like a cheap drill. Mason glanced at the screen on the ride to school and raised his eyebrows. That is a lot, he said. It is noise, I said. Noise goes down. In the operating room that afternoon, between a gallbladder and a hernia, I took a deep breath and let the room do its job. The operating room is a church for people who do not pray. The patient's body does not care about family politics. The scalpel does not know who is in your phone. At 1:55 p.m., my email chimed. The bank had frozen $18,000 in transactions pending investigation. Not joy, relief with a half-life. That evening, April showed up at my door with a backpack, eyeliner smeared, hair shoved into a knot. Can I stay 2 weeks? She said. No makeup voice, no performance. Yes, I said, with conditions. Anything. Phone off at 10:30, no online shopping. Tomorrow you go to the front desk interview I lined up at the clinic. I will pay the bus this week. That is it. Tonight, we build a budget that has numbers, not wishes. She nodded, cried a little. I made tea. At 9:12, we opened her bank app and wrote down every subscription, every delivery, every only $9.99. For the first time, her spreadsheet had no Harold column. It had income, rent, food, debt. It looked like a real life. Mom pivoted to health. Texts about blood pressure, dizziness, your father cannot sleep. At 10:02, she sent a photo of a home cuff. 148/92. I am not a cardiologist, but I can read numbers. I texted back what I would tell any patient. Go to urgent care if you feel off, I can take you. Please do not use health to argue about money. She did not go. Tuesday, 6:20 a.m. Dad waited on the sidewalk outside the hospital with his hands jammed in his coat like it was winter in August. Are you going to report your mother? He said. I am going to report unauthorized use if it continues, I said. She gave you life. You both raised me, I said. And I am raising my son. That is the circle. Family first, he said, like a prayer worn smooth by overuse. Family is not a debit card, I said. It is a boundary. He stared like I had spoken another language. For the first time, I did not want to win. I wanted to scrub in, do my cases, and later sit on the couch while Mason read me 2 pages of a book about hearts beating because electricity tells them to. April came home smiling the next day. They want me for a second interview, she said. Good, I said. Mom says you are cruel. She can feel that. What do you feel? She asked. Tired, I said. She twisted her hands. Do you hate me? No, I said, but I cannot save you every month. That is not love. She nodded, eyes shiny. You never asked me for anything, she said. Maybe that is why it felt like there was no limit. There is always a limit, I said. We just did not say it out loud. Wednesday, Mom sent a 3-minute voice note crying. Your father does not understand why you are like this. You broke his heart. April might be homeless. Money changed you. You used to be tender. Money dirtied you. I deleted it. Not from anger, for hygiene. Thursday, 6:47 p.m., a collections agent called my number asking for Harold G. about a debt of April's. She had used my phone as the contact. That is not the debtor's number, I said. Please update your records. Is she family? He asked. Yes, I said. That changes nothing. I hung up and stared down a long, bright hallway that smelled like alcohol preps and bad coffee. The word family weighs different when numbers sit under it. It can be a rope, it can hold, it can also choke. Friday came with 22 new alerts. Attempted charge declined. The quiet thing had worked. At 9:12 a.m., the bank reversed $12,700. The rest would take time. I did not feel victorious. I felt like I had put a tourniquet on and the bleeding slowed. Dad texted that afternoon. Come to dinner. We will talk like men. I did not. I flipped burgers at home. April set the table careful like it mattered. Mason asked between bites, what does family first mean? I chewed, swallowed. It means we take care of each other, I said, but it does not mean we take from each other. How do you know the difference? He asked. Boundaries, I said. Like when I tell you no video games after 10, no matter the puppy eyes. Oh, he said, it is for my good. Exactly. I looked at April. She looked at her plate. Over the weekend, Mom posted a photo on social media of her hand over Dad's. The caption, 40 years of love. Family is everything. Likes piled from aunts and neighbors. None of them saw my alerts at 2:17 a.m. Social media is a hospital hallway with the blood mopped away. Sunday, 7:04 p.m. I sent one more message to the family group. I love you. If you want to talk, Sunday 5 p.m. at my place. Mason present. No yelling, no guilt. Bring a pen and paper so we can write down boundaries. If not, we can take some time without talking. Harold. 2 hours of silence. At 10:01, scene. At 10:15, Dad left the group. At 10:18, April. I will come. At 10:23, Mom. Do not impose rules on me. I did not respond. Monday morning, 7:02 a.m., I checked my phone. Total missed calls from yesterday, 53. Each one felt like an old habit pounding at the door. Open up. Be the kid again. I did not. I drove to the hospital and scrubbed like always, in the operating room closing a neat line of skin with running subcuticular. I said this sentence to myself one more time, not a slogan, a fact. This is not about revenge. This is about closure. There was no movie ending. No confessions, no hugs, no speeches. Boundaries do not end with fireworks. They end with repetition. April took the front desk job. She hated the uniform but liked seeing her own paycheck. 6 weeks later, she moved into a small apartment she could afford. Sometimes she texts her budget at midnight. I answer the next morning with one word, good. Mom still sends health updates when she wants attention. I reply like a doctor. Go to urgent care if you do not feel well. She has not touched my account since. We talk about Mason's school and her plants. Nothing deeper. It is thinner now, but it is clean. Dad keeps his distance. He said family first once more. I told him exactly, me and Mason. He did not argue again. The bank returned part of the money, not all, but enough. The real win is silence. No more late-night calls, no emergency messages, no guilt paragraphs. My home finally sounds like a place where I can breathe. Mason still blurts things. He once told his teacher, I sew people together. But he also drew a picture of us holding a giant key. It is a boundary, he said. It is on the fridge. I used to think love meant paying the bill. Now I think it means knowing where the table ends. If you need permission, here it is. It is okay to stop being useful when useful means being drained. It is okay to define family as the people who do not demand proof. I am still Harold, surgeon, dad, quiet man who finally sleeps through the night. I do not lend cards. I do not co-sign. I do not explain my income through my kid. I still answer the phone for help, not manipulation. I still help, but on my terms. I stood in the scrub room that first Monday after the alerts, hands under the running water, watching the suds swirl pink from yesterday's case, a ruptured appendix that fought back like my family's texts. The steam fogged the mirror, but my reflection cut through, eyes steady, jaw set, no tremor in the fingers that had just saved a stranger's gut. Relief washed over me, not the fireworks kind, but the slow unclenching of a muscle you didn't know was knotted. For years I'd carried this invisible weight, a ledger of just this once that piled like plaque in an artery, narrowing everything. My sleep, my patience, the space between me and Mason. Mom's wink over that white tablecloth? It wasn't betrayal, it was the moment the dam cracked, and all the resentment I'd swallowed since childhood flooded out. I felt exposed, raw, like the patient on the table when the drape lifts, every nerve lit up, every old scar itching under the lights. Driving home that night, Mason asleep in the back with his hoodie bunched under his cheek, the city lights blurred into streaks through the rain-smeared windshield. Anger bubbled up, hot and unfamiliar, not at April's tears or Dad's folded arms, but at the boy I used to be, the one who'd nod through the guilt, trips, fork over cash for emergencies that were just bad choices in pretty packaging. I gripped the wheel tighter, heart pounding like the monitors spiking pre-incision. How many nights had I lain awake, calculator in hand, subtracting their loans from Mason's college fund, telling myself family meant endurance. That dinner stripped it bare. Their family first was a one-way valve, sucking me dry while I smiled for the photos. The hurt twisted deeper when I thought of Mason's flushed face at the table, his big eyes darting to me like I was the lifeline he shouldn't need. I pulled over twice, breath shallow, fighting the sob that clawed my throat. "I'm sorry I let them in," I whispered to the dark car, to the kid who trusted too much because I taught him to. By week 2, with April crashing on the couch, her backpack spilling job applications and half-eaten ramen cups, the house felt like a triage ward. Gratitude flickered when she handed me a 20 for groceries, her hands shaking like a post-op patient testing new stitches. "This is mine," she said, voice small but real. But the ache lingered, a phantom pain from severed ties. Mom's voice notes played in my head on loop during rounds. "Money dirtied you." "No, Mom, it was your hands on my card that did." I felt the grief then, heavy as wet scrubs, for the parents I'd mythologized, the ones who'd kept leftovers when I was scraping by on table-bussing tips. They weren't villains, just survivors of their own tight apartment, passing the torch of obligation without realizing it burned. Dad's silence now? It stung like radio static after a lifetime of his gruff commands. I mourned the clink of his wineglass against mine, the illusion of unity under candlelight, even as freedom settled, in my chest like clean sheets after a long shift. Months later, locking eyes with Mason over burgers, his laugh booming as he defended ketchup on eggs, I felt it fully, peace, fragile but mine. No more 2:17 a.m. alerts jolting me awake, no more Herald will handle it echoing in my skull. April's second interview smile lit something in me, a quiet pride that wasn't laced with dread. Love, I realized through the haze of exhaustion, isn't the endless bleed, it's the suture that holds without pulling. I'm still the quiet surgeon, hands steady in crisis, but now my deepest cut was self-preservation. The 53 missed calls? They were the death rattle of an old script. I didn't hate my family, I released them. And in that release, my heart, electric not magic, beat freer, louder just for us.